It's the 131st edition of the best rivalry in Division III hockey. Oswego State, Plattsburgh State, inside the wheelhouse. And an early offsides call as Adam Shredowitz just a step early there for the Cardinals.
And Shred's one of the best players on this team, but starting and looking at Plattsburgh, I should say, their keys to the game. First off, you've got to play a tighter game. They don't score a lot. You got to limit shots on both ends. In the first whiteout game, you give up 13 shots in the first. Parita makes a couple saves, but they end up winning. Of course, make Kazakowski uncomfortable. Forcing turnovers is the best way for Plattsburgh to get goals past Kazakowski, who's been great in net. And finally, take the crowd out of it. It's whiteout part 2 for a reason. The crowd is rocking. You've got to silence the crowd, especially early on, where the Lakers try to feed off these guys.
And Oswego State looking for some early offense as Mitch Emerson carries into the zone. He's going to swing it around, but it's played by Philip Middleton, the Cardinals' graduate senior captain, up to Mitch Hale. Hale is going to try to find Draven along the wing. Draven moving in with some speed, harassed by Antonucci behind the net. Back on the front, Shredowitz took a shot. Looked like it might have skipped wide, might have hit the stick of Mitch Emerson. So some early good opportunities for the Cardinals.
Yeah, they've looked really good flying on all cylinders. Lakers trying to generate too, but a really stifling defense do the Plattsburgh Cardinals have.
And a big hit late early on, of course, physicality always big in a rivalry as Falanga carries in for the Cardinals past Antonucci. He's going to dump it down low, trying to find Young, but he comes out with the puck, trying to find a pass in front, but a good stick play there by Max Novick, and Antonucci clears his own to center ice. Pizzo fanned on a little bit as Gillespie's going to chase Kyle behind the Plattsburgh State net. As just a minute and 5 seconds into this rivalry game, of course, a spot in the SUNYAC Championship at Geneseo on Saturday on the line. Josh Zizek tried to get out in front, and Travis Broman was a step too slow, and he's going to try to get it back to the point. Carson Vance. Vance setting up the Lakers offense with Carter Allen as Vance controls up blue and takes a shot, rebound in front, and Gillespie couldn't get a stick on it. Good opportunity there for the Lakers as they move. Gillespie part in front for Zizek, took a shot, rebound right in front, pass to Broman, he scored! Travis Broman, and the Lakers draw first blood.
And what a great play by the Lakers. Zizek a couple chances in front, and the vision of this captain to get his backhand pass over to Broman, just brilliant. And Broman with a no-doubter as he puts it behind Parita as we watch the replay here. Puck in front, Gillespie prying it out. Zizek, one chance, two chance, holds, hesitates, fans on it, gets to Broman wide open as 3 or 4 Cardinals out in front. They're outnumbered but not outmanned as Broman slips in behind the defense on the back door.
And just a minute and a half into this game, the crowd already brought to their feet by the stellar sophomore, Travis Broman, as puck dropped back, won by Christian DeFelice, Plattsburgh State. They've got to quiet this crowd down very quickly to make sure this doesn't get out of hand. Puck back to the neutral zone, played by Dahl, but it hits off the skate of Molinaro, and he'll chase against Ryan Hogg. Molinaro knocking Hogg down there, no call. Might have been a high hit there as DeFelice and Lewis go to work behind the boards, but it's going to be Christian Dahl carrying out for the Cardinals. Dahl chipping and chasing to McMillan, but it's stolen away by Lawson, dumped over to Alden. Lawson and Lewis, as Lewis, we know he can lay the boom, he does there, but it's back behind the Lakers net, controlled by Tyler Curry. Molinaro once again carrying in. He tried to chip for Lewis, but Lewis needed line changes. Kirkby took some friendly fire there, and he got shoved into his own bench. Spink out to play for the Lakers as we go back to the neutral zone.
Yeah, and battle with DeFelice, their number 23 for the Cardinals. He had a pair of goals in the win against Brockport, which were his 3rd and 4th goal of the season. Not a goal scorer, but had a great chances there in the first playoff game.
And with that stoppage in play, Matt, let's look at the keys to the game for Oswego State.
Well, first off, be patient if you're Oswego State. Plattsburgh's defense, they'll collapse in below the hash marks, but you can't force it. Second, situational awareness. Plattsburgh offense is so opportunistic, not really dynamic. When they're buzzing, chip it out and get behind the puck and finally win the first 5 minutes. Lakers doing a great job of that so far in that early goal. But again, this is a young Cardinals team, 9 freshmen, as we said. You want to shake them up a little bit, and it looks like they might be so far.
And a good face-off win there by a freshman, Christian Thomas, for the Cardinals, as the puck's still deep in their defensive zone, but a good stretch pass to Kuhn, who's moving in with some speed. Kuhn moving in 1-on-3. He's just going to have to swing that around and try to find Thomas, but a good play by Tyler Kirkby to chip it up to center ice as Spink chasing Arujo. Pass up ahead, Cardinals moving in. Kuhn in the slot, try to get a backhand, but a good defensive play there by Scorpio getting back. Novick laying a hit on Thomas behind the net, as the physicality definitely playing a factor early on in this one, as Antonucci might have got hooked in. We're going to have a whistle here, and we'll wait for the ruling.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a penalty. Maybe the net's off its moorings there over in Kazakowski's end as he's going to skate off towards the goal line now, take a quick bit of a gander, or a walk, I should say. as really both goaltenders tested so far. Plattsburgh hasn't been credited with any shots on goal, but again, they've got some puck play in the Oswego State end.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, Kozakowski is taking the skate as Tredowitz will center that top line. The freshman from a bit of a local kid from Baldwinsville, New York, to town over from where Stephen Kozakowski's from Liverpool, as Sutton takes a spill, and then Emerson takes a spill on top of him. No call as Andrew Pizzo controls up to Tredowitz. Cardinals trying to just chip one up there, and Kozakowski will cover it.
You're listening to the Watling and Owens podcast, sponsored by WNYO 88.9, the Laker Radio Network.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things where going into Cohen buying the Mets was like, all right, we have a little ease into free agency. It's a little bit slow, but right away firing just clearing house. And like you said, you don't want to see people lose their jobs, but it definitely makes, I think, a statement about the Mets and their culture. It's kind of leaving all in the past. We leave Brody Van Wagenen, and we leave all the rest of the guys that are kind of part of that Wilpon era where it's like almost like they were just stuck in a mediocre state for a while. And Brody kind of came out after and said, we had a good year. We competed for the playoffs last year. This year, maybe if COVID doesn't happen, we make the playoffs, which I thought they had a better chance, honestly, with the shortened season, with the extra playoff spots of making it. But I digress. But now we see, Steve Cohen saying, well, that's not good enough for me. That's not good enough. We're not going to be this team that dances around and has a good run that creates some excitement, and then that's it. We want to be a team that makes the playoffs year in and year out, that is able to bring some more excitement throughout the entire season for the Mets. So I like it from that move standpoint of just saying, you know what, this is a new era for the New York Mets, and we're going in a new direction. Yeah, and I see that. But again, it's Seattle. It's the best offense in the NFL this year. And for them to get those timely turnovers, I think was huge. The 2 interceptions, one was in the end zone in the first quarter, which was a huge 4th down stop for that defense, where I thought that's kind of where the game shifted, because it was 7-0 Bills. They just absolutely dismantled the Seahawks defense, but then Russ comes down the field. He's got a chance to score, and they pick him off on that 4th down. And that, I think, shifted a lot of the momentum in the game, because the Bills get the ball back. They go down and score again, make it 14-0. And that's when you're kind of settling in a little bit. I kind of was tweeting throughout the game. There's no such thing as a safe lead against Russ. His numbers when trailing are stupid. He's like 24, 29, and 1 when trailing in the second half, which, by the way, you shouldn't be even close to 500. That's the best of any quarterback since 1970. And for the Bills defense to just stay resilient, to force 2 fumbles, to force 2 interceptions. When you look at Russ's numbers, 28 of 41, 2 touchdowns. They shut down who was supposed to be the league MVP going into this year for the most part. And there were definitely some concerns, but also, 14 of those points came when the Seahawks were down by 28, when they were down by 21. It's garbage time, and obviously you want the Bills defense to play a full 60 minutes, but I thought the defense showed a definite kind of sign of resiliency that I haven't really seen this year so far.
Some COVID-related stories, some baseball as well, so a lot to get to. And I quickly got to say before we start the show, I am frustrated to death by the new retweet method on Twitter. I went to go retweet our show's tweet from today. I follow at Watling and Owens on Twitter, and when you hit retweet now, it immediately goes to quote tweet, and then you have to hit retweet again, which I think is just, I don't understand what the purpose was of changing that, because quote tweeting was easy to do to begin with, as was retweeting, and now you combine the two, and it's way too many steps now. Yeah, especially looking at what transpires this weekend too, with Washington beating Dallas. Washington has a really favorable schedule these next 4 weeks, where they're going to have the tough teams on the stretch. But this was a winnable game for the Giants. I think it's a game they should have won, and obviously the big thing you point to is that drop from Evan Ingram, where that would have sealed the game most likely. They would have been on the plus side of the field. They would have been able to run the ball out. They ran the ball pretty well. I thought Wayne Gallman looked really good. Devontae Freeman obviously left the game with that ankle injury, but that's a good throw from Daniel Jones. You can't throw a better ball than that, and I know he took the blame, and obviously you like to see that out of your quarterback, saying, he's not going to throw Evan Ingram under the bus, but, it just seems like Evan Ingram, you get some good with him, but you get a lot of bad. He dropped that pass that was intercepted earlier on in the game, and then he drops that catch that should have been the game sealer. So I don't pin 100% of it on Ingram, because I think, it's at the end of the day, they probably could have played a little bit of defense on the stretch as well. And maybe Daniel Jones could have Tried to not fumble, but I mean, kind of got hit from the blind side. But I mean, Evan Ingram needs to make those plays. Yeah, and that's the thing I think that's tough because you like to see them playing these close games. But I mean, if they could have grabbed a couple of these wins, they're sitting right there in first place in the NFC East right now. And not a team that we expected to contend, but it's like, that Bears game, I think they should have won. The Rams game, maybe now they would have to score a touchdown and convert a 2-point conversion against that Rams defense that's been pretty solid this year. So maybe they don't win that one. The Dallas game you'd have liked to win. So there's, 2-3 games right there that you think they should have won in addition to the Philly game. So I think those are big games for the Giants that they lost. But again, like you said, at the end of the day, the NFL is about wins and losses. The Giants have a lot more losses than they have wins recently. But you have to like the level of compete you see from them. They're going to go out there, they're going to compete in every game. But we'll see, how long that lasts. I mean, you had Tampa Bay coming up this week. After that, you get Washington and Philly back-to-back. So those are two games that you could win, you could be in before playing the Bengals, which is another winnable game. So, I mean, it's just when you look back at the season, I think for the Giants, you're going to say, as much as it would have been, a 7-9, maybe even 6-10 team getting into the playoffs, they did have their chances, and the inability to capitalize on those chances could definitely maybe hurt the team down the stretch. Honestly, the biggest thing to me was, the Jets failed to make adjustments. I thought the first half they looked really good. They let Sam Darnold get out of the pocket. They let him make these throws. He made a couple really nice throws. He had one throw to Perriman where he just arched it over the defense perfectly into his hands. He looked really comfortable. They were getting him outside the pocket, as I mentioned, so he's not getting hit as much. And then it's like that entire game plan went out the window in the second half. They started off with a 12-yard run from Frank Gore, and after that, they didn't have another play over 5 yards for the remainder of the game. And I can't really blame Sam Darnold for that because he wasn't put in a position to succeed by the offense, by Loggins, the offensive coordinator, and it just was messy in the second half, and that led to 2 Sam Darnold interceptions, one of which was his fault. It was thrown to the middle of nowhere. The second was tipped at the line on the potential game-winning play. But, I mean, again, with this Jets team, it's like how much longer can this coaching staff hold back Sam Darnold and hold back the rest of the team? Because, I mean, Greg Williams is sitting over there saying, look, we kept the Bills out of the end zone. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL by numbers this year. And we didn't let them score a touchdown. And, on the other side, the offense just unable to do anything in that second half.